So today's Cardinal lesson, we're talking about delay Social Security, take it early, wait till 70, or some point in between. So we're going to give you the numbers behind this. We talked about it before and continuously on our shows, and you can watch several videos about Social Security. Today we're giving you the numbers, and we're going to show you if you do take it early, how much money you're giving up out of your check. And if you delay till 70, how much extra money you're going to get from delaying. Okay. So we're going to give you the numbers, the interest rates, the discount factors. And so you need to learn one acronym out of this video and be able to use it. And that's FRA, full retirement age, which used to be 65 way back when, like my parents, when they turned 65, that was their full retirement age. It was the same for everybody. And then in the 80s, they passed this gradual phase in of 65 to 67. And so the people born in 1960 or after, your full retirement age is age 67, FRA. And so the whole video is you need to learn what your benefit is at FRA or full retirement age. And once you know that, you can use the numbers on this chart. So I'd like to bring Tom on, and I want Tom to talk a little bit about why we're doing this today.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the most important decisions you're going to make in retirement. And too often we have people coming in say, "Oh, my brother told me this, my friend told me to take it here." And they've never even thought about, could you take it at different ages? And so we just want to give you some ideas how we think about this, where it can benefit you, and really make sure you're making a good decision because this decision will last the rest of your retirement and can really impact you or your spouse in your 80s and 90s when maybe you've spent down your other funds and you're living off social security. It's important to have the highest check you can in most situations. I am going to bring up the show notes here, and so these are found at the link below on our video. They're also on our website. We have the chart. Some people print it out, can look at it a little more closely. We have an example of a social security statement, and so on if you don't know your full retirement age or you've never looked at this statement, you absolutely should go download this from ssa.gov. You create an account, download it, and it will tell you what the numbers are at those different ages. And right on that statement, it will tell you, it's sort of in the paragraph here, what your full retirement age is. And then on the chart here is what that relates to from an amount standpoint. So if you haven't looked at this, go download it. You need to know this. This is important. This is sort of historically shows you sort of what your earnings record is. And then we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but we use software when we're doing our financial planning called Bright Capital. I've just printed out one page of this. The software does a lot more than Social Security, but we can look to see sort of where the break even point is. In this chart, I'm comparing taking this person's Social Security check at full retirement age compared to age 70. Now, if you take it at 70, you've given up a check between this person is 66 and 8 months all the way till 70. You could have been receiving money that you're not. And so you'll notice on this chart, this bar graph, let me make this bigger, is you'll notice this line here is taking it at full retirement age as you're earning income, and then this bottom one is you're delaying your Social Security till 70, and then you start taking it. Well, you gave up a check here, so you got to earn it for long enough time to recoup that. And the crossover point, it's different per person depending on the age of the spouse and things. But normally it's like 81, 82, this example is 83, is if one of the spouses lives past that age 83, then you will get more from Social Security by waiting till 70. So that gives you some idea of how long you need to live to recoup what you gave up during that. And so that's something just to consider. If you're interested, we can look more specific at your own numbers. So we'll turn it back to Hans here. We'll get back to the board. But I think this is software we use to do some of our planning.
Okay, so the Social Security statement that Tom showed you that's in the show notes has a full retirement age benefit, FRA benefit of like $3,700 a month. Okay, and that's how much the person in our example is entitled to if they wait. They were born in 1958. If they wait till 66 and 8 months to start their Social Security check, they'll get exactly that amount. Now, what Social Security did many years ago is they did this phase-in thing, and rather than go through all the history, people born before 1954 or 1954 and before, your full retirement age or FRA was 66. So you're just about 70. You're turning 70 this year in 2024. So all these figures, if you have already taken your Social Security, well, it's already cooked. So this doesn't mean a lot to you today, but we're going through it, you're watching it, and that's kind of the baseline. People 1955, it's 66 in 2 months, 56, and so on and so forth, up to the people in 1960 and after, it's age 67. And what I will tell you is when they reform Social Security again, which they're going to need to, it's probably going to include another thing like this. It won't affect the people that are now in their 60s and early 70s, but it'll affect the people younger than that. And they'll just move this full retirement age thing again to shore up. That'll be one of the moves they'll make to shore up the trust fund, I would guess. Now, in this example, this fellow that's 1958, 66 and 8 months, had he taken his Social Security at age 62, because you can take it as early as age 62, he would have compromised his check pretty substantially. It would have been, his check would have been 71.7% of what it otherwise would have been. So you can take $3,700 at full retirement age times about 70%. You're somewhere in the $2,500, $2,400 a month range. Now, he would have gotten checks for several years where he's getting nothing by waiting. But then at some point, he's going to have gotten $2,400 a month plus inflation for a lot of years where he could have been getting much more. So that's how much they discounted exactly at age 62. Now, this number of 71.7 moves up every month that passes past age 62 that he doesn't take it. So, interest, some people will take it at like 64 or 65, and then he's going to get somewhere in the 80% range of the FRA benefit. So if you took it early, but not all the way early. So, and the discount factor that they use for that is 6% interest. So our computer does all this work for you, but this is giving you a sense of the numbers that Social Security uses to calculate behind that statement of what your check's actually going to be if you take it early. Now, we talked about that side of the equation, and you can see that people that are younger, like 1960, if they take it at 62, they're going to get 70%. It just seems like a small amount, maybe it is, but it's a different discount rate depending on your age during the whole phase-in period. And so now let's take a look at after full retirement age, because this gentleman in his example is probably not going to take his Social Security at 66 and 8 months because he doesn't need to and because he's probably still working. Okay. And what he wants to do is he wants to get that Social Security number as high as he possibly can so that when he is retired, he's just going to be collecting more money. And if he dies, his wife, who has a smaller check, a much smaller check, is going to be able to live on with his check. So he's accomplishing a couple things by waiting. One, he's giving himself a larger check during the period he doesn't need it. And then he's also setting his wife up for a larger check if he was to die first. Now, the benefit of waiting all the way till 70 is he's going to get 126.7% of that $3,700 check, which when you do all the math, it comes out to $4,800 a month and change. And by the time 70 gets around, it'll actually be bigger than that $4,800 a month because of inflation and the annual inflation adjustments. That's still like 4 years away for him. And this kind of represents the chart of people coming into us for financial planning. And we use a computer to do all this, but we're not just pro waiting in all cases. We don't just sit down with everybody and try to talk them into delaying, because for some people it doesn't make sense. Some people need the income. And then, I can think of a number of folks that have come into us and they've had a smallish IRA relevant to their Social Security check and their lifestyle and other savings. And so we didn't want to start depleting that by delaying Social Security. They were already retired. So we just took the Social Security and then take enough out of the IRA to um, help them to live, and really put together a plan that they won't deplete the whole IRA before the end of their life. So people are all over the board, but people that have a substantial IRA and they're retired or retiring and they're under 70 and they're the larger check of the two, in many cases we do make a recommendation that they wait. Um, but we take everybody's situation individually into account. And after full retirement, the number that's used, it's like getting 8% on your money. So that's another reason we like delaying if you can afford to, because that's pretty hard to compete with for a return on your investment of, uh, of, of, of waiting that long. So I want to bring Tom back on, and I want Tom to add some comments to these numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers make a lot of sense. Like Hans was saying, this is a decision that needs to be made individually, person by person, based off your whole situation. So we're not going to give you a blanket advice, but oftentimes we are having people come in. They've just sort of have this in their mind that I'm going to retire at X date, let's say 66, and that's when I'm going to take my Social Security, because they've tied those two things together. As they've retired retirement to starting Social Security. That doesn't have to be the case. It's you can retire and not take Social Security. And so that's sometimes we have to reframe their thinking around that. Another thing that we see a lot of times is people might come in, maybe they feel like they're behind on savings. They want to try to juice their income to try to save more for retirement. And so they're considering taking Social Security early while they're still working. That can be very problematic if you were under your full retirement age. So if you're 62, you're thinking about taking Social Security and you're still working, you need to be very careful, because there's something called our earnings test, where if you earn above a certain limit, Social Security withhold those benefits. So you don't even get a check to boost your savings. So especially if you're in that category, call us. We can definitely help you think through a more thoughtful way to use Social Security. Now, like Hans was saying, if you retire and you just need the income, then it doesn't really matter what these numbers say. You just need the check, right? And so again, it's very specific to each person, and you need to think through this as part of a larger plan, because a lot of times people have this IRA, they view this as this account they don't want to spend out of, when oftentimes it can make sense to spend that down a little bit while delaying Social Security to get this higher check that's going to last for their life, and then if they're married, potentially their spouse's life as well.
Okay, so pretty simple concept today. We wanted to give you these numbers so that if you reconsider, and we ask people to, if they're open to reconsidering their Social Security decision when they come into us, and they've already made it in their heads. If they've already actually taken Social Security, well, then we just work with that. We don't go over all this stuff with them unless it's within the last year. Now, if they've taken Social Security within the last year, we have another video on this. You can do, what we call a do-over with Social Security and pay the money you've received back. And it's just like you never took it. You can do that one time in a lifetime. So I want to go over, within the scope of holistic financial planning and going over all 7 of the worries that we do when we do financial plans, I want to talk about which ones of those we've touched on today. And first of all, obviously, Social Security. I want to talk about Medicare, because you go to Social Security and their website and that ssa.gov to sign up for Medicare. We've talked about 401k and IRA, because if you delay Social Security and you're not still working, and you have a substantial IRA 401k balance, we can use a piece of that money to create a stopgap check to come in so that you can delay Social Security. And if that's in your best interest, we're going to certainly recommend that, and we're going to use your IRA to do that. We've talked about income because the base income in all our retirement plans is Social Security. Social Security doesn't provide any estate benefits other than the survivor benefit for the surviving spouse. So we'll leave that unchecked. And we haven't really talked about taxes today either. So I want to bring Tom back on. I'm Hans Scheil.
And I'm Tom Griffith.
And we thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.